Yo, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a tutorial on Factions plugin. If you don't know what this is, it's pretty much like clans on Minecraft. You can have a faction home, you can have faction wars, alliance with another faction, declare enemies of another faction. You can do a lot of things with this. So it's pretty cool. And this is like one of the top plugins used in many servers. I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah, this is a really popular plugin that I'm sure a lot of people like to have. So for this plugin to work, you're going to need three things. If you follow my steps, then you're going to have this plugin working perfect on your server. So the first thing you need is Java 7 to be exact. So if you don't have that, even if you do, make sure you have it anyways. Just Google Java 7 and download that and install it. It's free, of course, you know. And the other thing you need is Notepad++. This will be in the description. You just click the link and click Notepad installer, or you can click zip package too. That works. But this is required because, well, it's not really required, but you really need this. It'll help keep up with a lot of things. So if you don't have that, get that. And you'll need Factions plugin. And aside of Factions plugin, you also need MCore. So you have to have both of these plugins to make it work. If you don't have MCore, it's not going to work. So we're going to go ahead and click download for the Factions. This is the link is in the description. Okay. So now just go ahead and click download. The plugin will download. So go ahead and drag this into your plugins folder of your Minecraft server. And now we need MCore. So this version is for 1.6.4. If you still have 1.6.2, you just click back, go to the home page, scroll down till you see recent files, 1.6.2 version of Factions. You click that one. Same thing for MCore. If you have it, you go under recent files and click that. But if you have 1.6.4 like me, just under installation, click download MCore here. Alright, so just click download, same thing basically, and click it again, hit keep, and drag this to your plugins folder also. Alright, so pop that sucker in there, and in your plugins folder you should have Factions and MCore now. So go ahead and start up your server and let it load. Alright, so if you click the link in the description where it says permissions, it will take you to where all the permissions are at. If you don't know what permissions are, they give access so a player can do something. So like it says here, factions.disband, this will allow that group you give it to disband a faction. So you have to copy this into your permissions plugin and give these permissions to the groups that you want. And instead of like copying all of these, this one permission right here, factions dot little asterisk thing right there, you just copy that, then it'll count for all of these permissions right here. Alright, so your server should be done loading up, should be ready to go. You should see a new folder called MCore. This is where you're going to do all your configuring for it. Your plugins folder, you should see the two folders, Factions, MCore. Don't worry about that. The only thing you worry about is MCore. But right now we're going to head on Minecraft. I'll show you how to configure and all the commands in a second. Alright, so once you're on your Minecraft server, the first thing you want to do is type the command /f create. And then after that, type the name of your faction. So anything you want to call it, really. It can be anything. So I'm just going to call mine tutorial. This is going to be the name of my faction. Hit enter. Now it needs a description, so type /f desc and then space, and then here's where you're going to type whatever message you want. This will be a description of your faction. So I'm just going to put we rule the land. So yeah, that's my description. Just hit enter when you're done. If you want to rename your faction, just type /f name and give it that new name. So if I wanted a new name like Killas, I don't even know. But yeah, you just hit enter. Alright. So here, if I type a message in the chat, then you can see that nothing pops up next to my name. And if you want to change this, you want the faction name to pop up next to your name, go into your server folder, go into the MCore folder, and open up the factions mconf. And then this is where Notepad++ comes in, so you're going to have to right click, hit edit with Notepad++ or open with. Okay, so let's scroll to the top here. And here we have chat set format. This is what we need to worry about. If we set this to true, then our name, our faction name, is going to pop up next to it. But if you have another plugin like Hero Chat, then you're going to leave this as false because Hero Chat's going to do the work for you. But I don't, so I'm going to change this to true. Alright? Now the cool thing about this is whenever you save it, and you just click save, you don't have to restart your server because it automatically updates on the inside the game. And watch, I didn't restart my server, just typing it in, and there we go, it just updates within a couple seconds. So basically, if you change something in here, you just click save, wait a couple seconds, and it updates. So no restarting the server, and as you can see, my faction name pops up next to my name, which is awesome. Now if you don't like the color, then you can change that too. If you scroll down next to color member, here's the color, it's on all caps green. So I'm just going to change mine to blue. You can change yours to whatever you want. Click save, wait a couple seconds, and bam, it's in blue. Awesome. Alright, so allies, that is a faction that you're pretty much friends with. So a friendly faction. You change the color of that. Truce faction, neutral faction, and an enemy faction. Go ahead and change the colors of those if you want to. Alright, so back on the game, I'll show you a couple more commands. Another command that you can do is /F open. And this will open up your faction so that you don't really have to invite anyone. They can just join without an invite. So if you type the same command in, it'll change it back to close, and you actually have to invite the player for them to join now. To invite a player, you type /F INV and then their name. So here's my name. I'd hit enter and I can invite a player. If you want to kick that player, you type /F kick the player's name, hit enter, and they're kicked out of the faction. So /F title, I don't really see the point in this, but you just type /F title numero or your name space, and then you give them a title. So it can be anything. It's just a word that pops up next to your name. So I can be like, I can type in top commander, and top commander will now pop up next to my name. But it could be anything. So I'm just gonna put chef. No, I'm gonna put chief instead. And now it pops up next to my name. So chief numero uno baby. It's just something, I don't know. But /F promote, and then the player's name will promote that player, and they'll be higher above any other players in the factions. So /F demote will demote the player, and /F officer will make that player an officer. Hold on, I spelled it wrong. Okay, /F officer and then their name. That'll make them an officer, and then /F leader and then their name. That will make that player the leader of the faction now. So you pretty much gave it away. Alright, so if we go back to our configure thing, and we see prefix leader, as you notice, when I type something, two little asterisks, or as I call them stars, but really they're called asterisks. They pop in next to my name, and you can change that. So if I wanted to have // star, click save, and then I could have that now. So it would be // next to my faction name. And it pops up next to my name because I'm a leader. You can change it up for officers, for members, and for new people, recruits. So go ahead and mess around with that. Anything else you can change, but doesn't really matter the rest. So once you're done, close out of that, and we'll continue on with some commands here. /F ally, and then the faction name that you want to make an ally with, and you can do that. So other faction name, and then you'll become an ally faction with them. Same thing with truce, you just type the faction name. Same thing with neutral, so /F neutral, and then the name of the faction. And then same thing with enemy. So if you want to claim, you wish to call this faction an enemy faction, then you can do that. And if you're an ally with a partner, that means you and the ally faction cannot hurt each other because you're friends, pretty much. Alright, so now we're gonna claim land for our faction. Any claim land, no one else can build on unless they're in the faction. So no griefing, I guess you could say, with claim land. So to claim land, you need power. If you don't have power, then you actually have to wait on the server, and you can get some power points just by waiting or playing on the server for at least an hour. Every player, the max of every faction power points can have is 10, and the least is 0. If you die, you lose. Your faction loses 2 power points. And yeah, so you need power points to claim land. So if you don't have enough, but to see, you just do /F claim. So /F claim, and here is from here to whatever number you want to type. The max is 5, so I'm going to type 5. And it says that I need more power. So to get power, you type /F. And then only admins can do this. If you're not an admin, you have to play on the server for at least an hour to get power points. So F power boost, F space, and then your faction name, so minus tutorial, space, and then the amount of power points that you want to get. So I'm just going to type in a random number like 100. And now I have more power points, and now I can claim land. So /F claim, and then the feet in radius, I'm just going to type 4. Now I'm going to type 2. And now I just bought all this land in radius of 2 feet. All this is claim land for my faction, which is pretty cool. So there's also another way you can do it. If you type /F auto claim, then as soon as you start to walk away to any unclaimed land, it's gonna claim that land. So you're claiming land by walking, pretty much. So it just said I bought some land, bought some more. You're not really buying it with money. You're buying it with your power points, or you're using your power points for it. So yeah, and once you're done auto claiming, you type the same command, turn auto claim off. So that's how you claim land. You can type /F map. It'll give you like some little map thing. I don't really know how to explain it, so whoever gets it can understand it, but it's not really a big deal, so you don't have to worry about that. So in the configure, go back, click factions uconf at default. Open that up and edit this. So we'll take a look at this, and you can see here, okay, let's scroll down past this. Power max. This is the max amount of power points I was talking about earlier. So you can change that. You change the minimum amount, and then power per hour. This goes to players on your server. So if they play on your server for an hour, they get 2 power points. If they die, they lose 2. You can change both of that. And you can change anything else, like home's enabled if you want people to use the set home command, like we did earlier. Alright. Oh, and scroll down until you see econ enabled. If you want your faction to run with money, so if you want your faction to have money and stuff, like an economy system, you want to set this to true. I'm going to be going over that, so I'm setting mine to true. Save, and go back to Minecraft. Alright, so /F, money B, that stands for balance. You see how much money your faction has. So my faction has $0. I'm going to want to give some money to my faction, so my faction is not poor. So to give money to your faction, by making a deposit, you type /F, money D, that stands for deposit, so you're putting money into your faction, and then space, and then type the amount of money that you want to give away. So I'm going to give $100 to my faction. And it says that, so now my faction is $100. Let's say if I want that money back, so I'm going to do /F, money W, that stands for withdraw. You're taking money away. So $100. Now I took that $100 back. So you know what? Give me my money back. Alright. And then 3 things I'm going to go over with, but I'm not going to actually do it. /F money FF. That means you're taking money from your faction and giving it to another faction. So it's faction to faction. Type /F money FP. That's faction to player. You just type the amount. So let's say if I want to give from my faction to a player $100, then you type the faction. So tutorial, I completely spelled that wrong, but tutorial, and then the player's name you want to give it to, and then you hit enter. So /F, the last one is /F money PF, that means player to faction. If you want to take money from a player and put it into a faction, you type the amount, the player's name, and then the faction. Now back in the configure, scroll up. You should see default faction flags. Flags is like, if you set this to true, that means a permanent faction will never be deleted. So if I have this on true, then I cannot delete any faction. If you have the peaceful flag on true, that means you're always in truth with other factions, pretty much in peaceful mode. If I set the infinity power faction to true, I mean not faction, but flag to true, then that means you have your faction, every faction has infinity power, so they can pretty much claim as much as land as they want. I believe that as false. That's just me. Power loss is if they lose power when they die. You can set that to true. PvP, you understand that. Friendly fire, monsters, if monsters spawn in the faction land. Explosions, if explosions go off in the faction land. Offline explosions, if a faction is offline, do explosions go off. Fire spread, you get that. Ender grief, whether or not an enderman can grief your faction land. So that's the flags. Now we are pretty much done with that. So go ahead and see if you want to put anything else. Oh, and up here, default player role. If you want this to be called like a newbie, to be called a recruit, so a new faction player, you can change that name if you want. Hit save when you're done, then exit out. Okay, so now one of the last things I'll be going over with is the permissions. Yes. This is very helpful if you want to set permissions for each group or each rank in your faction. So if you type /F perm, then you'll see a whole bunch of stuff you probably don't understand. But let me quickly explain it. So this means leader, officer, member, recruit, ally, truce, neutral, and enemy. And on the right is all the categories of permissions. So under enemy, if it's under no, then that means the enemy group cannot build. But as you see, the ally, it's on yes, so they can build. So all these no's and yeses go for each thing they're in line with. And I'll show you what I mean, and I'll try to change a permission for you as an example. So /F perm, and then your faction name, so if tutorial is mine, and then you can choose any of the categories that you want. So let's say since officers are allowed to kick, I do not want that. I don't want officers to kick, so I'm going to change that to no. Then now we're going to type the category, so kick, and then you type in the group. So I said officers, I'm going to type officer, and then yes or no. So I said I don't want officers to be able to kick players, so I'm going to type no. So now it's changed. It's changed from yes, where was it? Yes to no. Now one more example, just so you guys can get the hang of it. /f perm, faction name, and then let me choose another category. Pain build. This might be one you're questioning about. You don't know. This means if anyone is building on your land, then they take damage, so they get hurt when they start building. You can change this. So let's say I would want the enemy group to take damage when they start building on my faction land. So I type the category that's in it. It's in, so pain build, and then I type the group, so enemy, and then yes or no. So I'm going to type yes, and here it is, pain build. It's set to yes. Enemies now take damage when they build. So that's pretty cool. You guys can mess around with that. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to be going over with before I end the video is safe zone and war zone. A safe zone is where an area where it's all safe, pretty much, no damage and taken, none of that. And a war zone is where pretty much battles go on. You can take land from other factions during wars like that. So it's pretty cool. Alright, so you need to be an admin, and you actually have to type a command to set war zones and safe zones. To do this, type /f admin and then on. So this will turn your admin mode on, or admin bypass mode, same thing. And now you can actually claim land for your safe zone and stuff. So /f claim the radius. Here's where the radius comes in again. So I'm going to type 1. I'm going to type safe zone. So here's where you can change two things. You can change the radius, so 1 through 5, and then safe zone or war zone. And then there we go. I just conquered this as a safe zone for my faction. Now I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to claim this area over here as a war zone. Wait, gotta go back in my... I have to go back in my claim land already, or I don't really have to, but... So right here it's good. Let's type /f claim whatever radius you want. I'm going to just type 2, and then war zone. Then there we go. Sweet, we just claimed war zone for my faction. And some of the wilderness. Wilderness is not a part of your faction. Alright, so that's it for this tutorial. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Hopefully I went over everything, and hopefully you guys will be able to run factions on your server now. So like this video, subscribe, share with your friends, favorite it so you can go back and watch how to do something, some of the commands, you know. Alright, peace out guys.